Hello, everybody. This is Gregory with 5-Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today, we're going to talk about why the Catholic Church has an issue with Freemasonry. Now, before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Gloria Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et saecula saeculorum. Sorry about the lighting in here in these lines. I can't record in my regular room because the washing machine is too loud and it's on. So I'm in my son's room. All right, so I could spend 30 minutes on an episode on Freemasonry. We do have a playlist here on history and Catholicism, and there's a lot of connections there. But I'm going to try to keep this one relatively short just and talk about the history of the prohibitions and why the church's prohibitions on it. Certainly, I'm going to try to stay away from what people would perceive to be the conspiratorial views of Freemasonry and Catholicism, and just say what the church's teaching of this is. So Freemasonry came out of the closet, so to speak, in the early 1700s. We're not really going to spend time as to are they vestiges or remnants of the Knights Templars or the Rosicrucians, or various forms throughout the Middle Ages and the Renaissance period. We're just going to say Freemasonry came out, the Grand Lodges came out in 1717, I think, was it, or 1714. And as soon as 1738, you have condemnations from various popes. And we've had 11 condemnations from 1738 to essentially modern times, condemning Catholics for joining Masonry. As recently as 1983, we had the most recent condemnation, which was part of the new Code of Canon Law that was promulgated by J.P. II, which was really Ratzinger's Code of Canon Law because he was head of the Congregation of the Doctrine of the Faith. And in that one, it's been softened to the point where it states that any Catholics that are Freemasons cannot receive the Eucharist and are in a state of grave mortal sin. Now, if you look at 1917's Code of Canon Law, which I guess some would say is the classic Code of Canon Law, it said that if you were a Mason, you were automatically excommunicated. So remember also, too, only Catholics can get excommunicated. A lot of people misinterpret like a lot of the let them be anathema. We talked about this on the episode on Council of Trent, I think. But that's only applicable to Catholics. So Luther can be anathematized because he was a Catholic. He was an Augustinian priest. But Protestants can't be excommunicated. Either way, why does the church feel this way about Freemasonry? Now, again, we can talk about the Masons' effect in Italy in the Carbonari. We can talk about the effect of Masonry, esoteric. We'll back up. Esoteric Freemasonry and their legacy in the Spanish Civil War, in the French Revolution, in the Cristero War, in the Bolshevik Revolution. We have episodes on all these things. I mean, they have their hands dirty in pretty much every revolution in Europe and in Latin America. Okay. Again, esoteric Freemasonry. I don't want to hear but my uncle was a Mason, or Washington was a Mason, or Simon Bolivar. There's a lot of people that were Masons, and I'm not saying that your uncle it probably was a porch Mason, a low-level Mason. I'm not saying that every Mason is complicit in their attempts to destroy the Catholic Church. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that there's always a correlation between revolutions to topple monarchies and the establishment order, which is typically the church and monarchy and family. And there's always the lodges are always playing a role. Now, officially, why does the Catholic Church have a problem with Masonry? Well, because Masons will tell you, or the official kind of declaration is that you have to believe in a God to be part of the Masons. And whether it be Scottish Rite, Yorkish Rite, the Shriners, there's various branches, Morning Star, De Molay, and all these other ones. You have to believe in a God. Now, the Masons don't care which God it is. So if you go to a Masonic lodge, let's say in Abu Dhabi, typically the lodges will have like a book, like the holy book of that country. So here in America, it would be the Bible. So this is an enticement, I would say, on one level to bring in the people of that predominant faith. So like if you have someone who's interested in joining the faith, and typically when you're joining the faith, it's not like you can just knock on the door at the Masonic temple, I want to join. It doesn't work that way. Normally it's done by referral. But if you join it, there's going to be the Bible. And so I think that's one way that an effective way to bring in people into Masonry because, let's see, it is Christian. But if you go to Abu Dhabi, they're going to have the Quran over there. So they'll tell you that you just need to believe in a higher power, the supreme being, a God. They don't care which one it is. And that in itself is the problem with Masonry vis-a-vis Catholicism, is that it preaches indifferentism. The idea that there's, so to speak, various spokes that will get you to heaven. There's various religions, and they're all equally worthwhile, and they're all equally valid. And that is not what the Catholic Church teaches. The Catholic Church teaches that the Catholic Church, Christianity, is the one true way. Jesus Christ is our Savior, and is the one true way. We don't say that Buddhism and Hinduism and the variety of religions are all equally valid. No, because partly that would undermine Christianity. We don't believe in indifferentism, and unfortunately, indifferentism in itself is quite pervasive today, and it's pervasive in many ways. Certainly, you could see how Richard Gere and the American Buddhists brought Buddhism to America to more prominence. So you see like the Dalai Lama and these celebrities pushing Buddhism. So it's like, Buddhism is just as valid as Catholicism. But even in the Christian world, you'll see, and no offense to the Protestants, but there's definitely I would say an indifferentism pushed within the Catholic Church that seeks to validate the Protestant denominations as being just as valid as the Catholic faith, which it's not. The true church is the Catholic Church. But either way, this is the main problem with Masonry, is that Masonry does push indifferentism, in that there's no difference between which God you believe in, or gods even, as long as you believe in a God or gods. Now, we can go and talk about Manly P. Hall. We can talk about Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma. We can talk about like the actual writings of the Masons, and if you go to the high level writings, and of course a lot of this is banned and you're not supposed to talk about these under the pangs of death, they will tell you that, of course, that's all a joke and not true. But if you certainly look in the 1830s, 1840s in America, we used to have parties that were anti-Freemason because there were prominent people that came out that were Masons and revealed the secrets, and then they were killed. And so there was a movement in the 19th century for a little while to oust the Freemasons because of their beliefs being contrary and antithetical to Christianity in general. I wouldn't even say the Catholic Church, but to Christianity in general. So this is the main thing. So I would tell any Catholics that are interested in joining the Freemasons, don't join it. It is a organization that historically has been quite antagonistic to the Christianity in general since it's coming out in the early 1700s. And I would tell you that don't listen to what the Masons tell you they believe. Albert Pike is very clear. He was one of the most distinguished Freemasons of all time. He says, he even tells it in Morals and Dogma. It's like, we tell the Porch Masons one thing what the signs mean, but they really represent other things. You can see page 324 of Morals and Dogmas, that Masonry is enervated by the seething light of Lucifer. What they believe as Lucifer, as the light bearer, is different than what we Christians would believe in it. And look, I don't want to go on and on and on and on with this, but we're not supposed to join the temple. The Knights of Columbus, Father McGivney, one of the reasons he created the Knights of Columbus in the late 1800s was because he saw a lot of Catholic men joining the lodges. And so he thought it'd be smart to create kind of a mirror lodge that has some of the kind of the degrees and some, so it kind of mirrors Freemasonry, but something that is, of course, Catholic and pro-Catholic. So we would not see this exodus of people leaving to a pernicious institution like Freemasonry. So, of course, you always have the option to join the Knights of Columbus. But any Catholics in good conscience should not join the Masonic institutions in any way, shape, or form. And again, this goes back to obedience. The head of the church, going back to the 1730s, and 10 times since then, have denounced Freemasonry and have told the flock not to join. So if you choose to join, despite these papal condemnations, to the point where, again, you're in a state of mortal sin, you can't receive the Eucharist, and you choose to do that, that is on your own conscience. But there's a reason why the church tells Catholics not to join, and it would behoove you to listen to this instead of having the typical spirit of rebellion that we honestly do see, certainly in the Catholic left, but we see it in the far Catholic right. I know better. And just don't be one of those people in regards to this, and don't join the Masons. Guys, post in the comments. I'd like to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.